So you're thinking about hiring somebody as a VA or any position working for you, and you found this place called Onlinejobs.ph. It's awesome, but you don't know how to use it. In this video I'm going to show you how to hire, train, and manage workers from Onlinejobs.ph so that they feel appreciated and you get your work done. And we're starting right now. Hey, I'm JR Fisher, and if you're new to my channel, do me a favor, subscribe, hit that button below right there, click that button, and don't forget next to it there is a bell. You got to click the bell notifications, and you got to turn on all notifications so that you don't miss a single video. Now I've been selling online since 2009, and honestly I've sold millions of dollars worth of both digital and physical products, and on this channel I share with you exactly what you need to do to get real results. At the end of this video I'm even going to give you a $97 e-commerce course absolutely free just for watching to the end. Okay, let's get to it. Finding and recruiting the right Filipino worker is difficult. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard to find somebody to match the job that you're hiring for. However, it can be done, and if you do it right, they benefit, you benefit, and you get your work done at a good price. In this video I'm going to share with you kind of the tips and tricks I've learned along the way, because we've employed a lot of people in the Philippines for many years now. My first step is just hire one. I see so many businesses do this. They go out and they hire 3 or 4 people from Onlinejobs.ph, and all of a sudden they got all these people and they don't know what to do, and they haven't been trained, and they're not managed properly. So if you're starting off and you're new to this, you just want to hire one person in the beginning and get them up and running. Don't hire more than one to start with. Eventually you can get to several, people working for you. They can be accounting for you, they can be doing graphics, they can be doing social media, but you need to start slow. Number 2, discuss the policies with the person that you hire so that they know what to do. I see this happen over and over again where people say, well, this person's not doing what I want them to do. And I said, well, what you want and what you taught are 2 different things. What did you teach them to do? What did you train them to do? So it's super important that you put out your expectations up front. Now this is really important in the hiring process, because your expectations may not be what they want. It's better to give your expectations up front rather than to give them later on and they get into a job they don't want, and you can't manage a person in a job that they don't want. The next thing you need to look at is, do you want a full-time or do you want a part-time? And what is full-time? What is part-time? Generally speaking, on Onlinejobs.ph, that's 5 days a week and 8 hours a day. If you're hiring part-time, it's going to be the same number of days, 5 days a week, but probably only 4 hours a day. And you also want to discuss up front when you want them to work. Now personally, I don't care when my people work, because it doesn't make any difference to me. I want them to be comfortable in their own settings. I don't want to keep them up all night. If they don't want to be up all night, they can work whatever hours they want, as long as they put in the 40 hours and they get the work done. But notify them up front, because if you want them to be available to you at certain hours, you need to tell them that up front, because if they don't want to be and then later on you say that, 2 things are going to happen. They're going to quit, or they're never going to be available when you need them. Now Onlinejobs.ph has some software called Time Proof, and they actually log in and it checks to see what hours they're working. I don't like it. I don't like to use it. I tried it in the beginning, and what I found was it was kind of like looking over their shoulder to see what they're doing. And yeah, you can do that, but what that does is that sets up a degree of mistrust between you and the person that's working with you. And I always say the person that's working with me, not for me, because we're both trying to accomplish something. And if you're checking their hours constantly, that means that you probably don't trust them, and if you don't trust them, they shouldn't be working for you anyhow. So there's really no point in having that type of software there. But I know I'll get feedback from this. People will say, oh well, I want to monitor. Well, then go ahead and do it your way. But I like the person to know that I do trust them, that they'll get their work done. And you know what, if they take a little break every now and then work more later on, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. You also want to talk to them about their pay. They need to know when they're going to get paid. Now generally on Onlinejobs.ph, you're going to pay on the 1st of the month, so they're going to be 1 month behind, and then you're going to pay them. I don't like that process, so I don't do that. And the reason I don't like it is because if they're on there working for you, they probably really need the money, and paying them once a month, they've really got to spread out their money over the month, and that makes it difficult for some people. So I like to pay every single week. I use a thing called Payoneer, and I'll put a link below for Payoneer. But Payoneer, they just bill you for the work that they've done for that particular week, and then you go ahead and pay them. And the next thing I would tell you is pay them fast. Do not wait. They need the money, and if you wait 3 or 4 days to pay somebody, and then there's a lag in the software of 3 or 4 days, that's a long time for them to wait to get paid. Now the next thing I'll tell you is you've got to allow your employees to have vacation and sick leave. Now they're going to have to be with you for a certain period of time to get that. Obviously vacation normally comes after a year, but it's something you need to look at. And every now and then if somebody gets sick, sometimes I will pay, sometimes I won't, depending on how good of an employee, depending on how much time they've taken off. But you do have to allow them some type of sick pay after a year, because they've stayed with you for a year. You've got to afford them that. Don't forget about the 13th month. Now if you're in the US, you don't even know what a 13th month is, but in the Philippines, the actual businesses that employ people down there have a legal responsibility after 1 year to pay them 30 days worth of pay. So that means you're going to have to calculate in whatever you're paying your employees, that you're going to have to pay them an extra month. Just because the rules in your country, maybe you're in the US, are different than that, you don't live in their country and they don't live in yours, so you got to abide by their rules, or they're not going to want to work for you. The next thing I will talk about is yearly raises. Cost of living goes up everywhere, and you should evaluate your employees on a yearly basis. Now at the time of that evaluation, you want to look at several things. Have they been dependable? Have they done what they were supposed to do? Were they responsive to your messages? And if they did all those things and they did a good job, then you should give them a raise. Now there are times when I'll hire somebody, and after 2 or 3 months, if they're doing a good job, I'll just give them a raise. I don't wait for an entire year, because I want them to know I appreciate what they're doing. Now on the flip side, if they're not doing a great job, I almost think you just want to get rid of them rather than not give them a raise, because if you don't give them a raise, they're going to probably look anyhow, and if they're not doing a good job for you, why are you employing them anyhow? The next thing I'll tell you is if you hire a full-time employee in the Philippines, they should not be working for anybody else. Now if they're working for somebody else, they're actually cheating you, because there's no way for them to work 2 40-hour work weeks in 80 hours. It's just not going to pencil out. So if you find that situation, I know if I find that situation, I will let the person go, because obviously there's something wrong. Now the only reason they would do that is they're basically trying to cheat you and not try to work hard, or you're not paying them enough for the job. So the one thing I will tell you is make sure you're paying enough for the job, and a decent employee won't try to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. The next thing I'll tell you is you want to have a relationship where they can come to you and talk to you. So right up front, you want to reassure them that if something goes wrong, if something breaks, if something doesn't work out, if they mess something up, it's okay. You understand that people make mistakes, and they can come to you and talk to you, because if you don't set up that relationship up front, Filipino people can be very embarrassed if something goes wrong, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to make them feel bad. So we want to reassure them that if something goes wrong, they can come talk to you, and make sure they can too. If they come to talk to you about a problem, make sure that you're helpful to them, because basically they're helping you out by working for you. So you got to treat them right and set up that relationship more like a family than a boss and an employee that just fires out orders all the time. One thing I've seen in the Philippines is some Filipino employees will just disappear. They just go away. They quit doing your work. They're not there. You can't get in touch with them. They don't answer emails. And generally I think that happens because they don't feel they have a relationship with the person they're working with where they can actually talk to them. So make sure that you tell them up front, you don't want them to disappear. If something goes wrong, please come to me and let me know. If you don't want to work for me anymore, that's okay too. Just let me know so that you can leave on a good basis. And the cool thing is, if you hire them through Onlinejobs.ph, and I have no affiliation with that site, but if you hire them there, you're going to rate them after they've worked for you. So if somebody does disappear, you need to rate them accordingly, that they didn't do a good job. And if they do a great job for you, and you move on, or you hire somebody else, or they leave, let them know. I'll give you a great rating. Just make sure if you're going to leave me and you're going to go work someplace else, that you tell me, so I can give you a good rating on Onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph. now when you tell them that, it kind of insinuates that if they don't do that, they're not going to get a good rating. As soon as you hire them, give them their first task. Okay, don't hire somebody and wait 2 or 3 days and they don't know what to do. Matter of fact, I like to give a task before I hire them. Based on how well they did that task, I can decide if I want to hire them. You know, if they're doing graphics or they're doing video editing or if they're doing writing for me, I'll say, well, here's a task, let's see how well you do at it, and if they do well, then I hire them. And you'll find that some of them won't do the task, or they do a poor job, and if that's the case, you didn't want to hire them anyhow. Once they come to work for you though, you've got to have a game plan. You got to be ready to go. You got to be able to hit the ground running. So you got to have your tasks set up. You got to have your work set up for them so that they can actually start working, because starting a job and then not having anything to do, well, that's kind of a weird feeling, and then they're not really sure if they're employed. So don't do that. Make sure you're organized before you hire them. Okay, now whatever type of task that you give your employee after they've been hired, provide them with the correct training. You know, I see this all the time where somebody will say, well, my employee's not doing this, they're not doing this, they're not doing this, and I'll say, well, did you train them to do that? Did you tell them that's what you want? You know, that's super important that they know what to do, because most of the times people do want to do what you want, but if you haven't told them and you haven't trained them properly and you haven't given them the right tools, you know, if you say, well, I want you to make all these files for me, and you don't tell them where to put the files, you don't set up a Dropbox, or you don't set up a place for them to save them, what are they supposed to do? And then you get mad at them for not doing something that you never trained them for. The next thing I'll tell you is, don't give them tasks that you didn't hire them for. So I see that a lot. Well, you know, somebody will get hired to do video editing or graphics, and the person says, well, I want you to write these blogs for me. Well, they weren't hired to write blogs. Now that's not to say you can't add tasks on down the road, but if you add tasks on down the road, make sure you talk to them and say, do you feel comfortable doing this new task? Do you have time to do this new task? Is this going to be okay with you? Let them know that it's different, and you know it's different from what you hired them for, and have that discussion. Number 4, set the right expectations. Okay, and that means, like, if you have tasks for them, make sure you tell them when you want these tasks done, how fast you want these tasks done, you know, how accurately you want them done. All these things are super important so they know what's expected of them. If people know what's expected of them, they're always going to perform better. If one of your employees feels like they don't have the expertise to do a new task that you're asking them to do, and you haven't trained them to do it, they're going to disappear, because you've asked them to do something that's embarrassing to them because they know they can't do it, and you haven't discussed it with them, and you haven't said, hey, do you feel comfortable doing this? You're going to lose employees. That's no way to treat anybody that you hire. Number 5 is the daily email. Now this is super important so that you can stay on top of what they're doing. Now don't say, send me a daily email. That doesn't really tell them anything. You know, I have several things that I want done. I want to know how many people were added to my group, how many people, you know, we've increased on my YouTube channel, you know, things like that. So I have those questions set up, and I say, send me this daily email with these 4 things. Let me know what progress we're making in these 4 areas, and let me know what you did for the day. And if you don't do that, you know, they don't really know what's expected, and you can also lose track of managing them real quick. And on top of that, if you don't check the things that they're supposed to be doing, and let's say it's getting, you know, subscribers to a YouTube channel, and you're not getting subscribers and they're working on your channel, well then that's a problem. So we want to make sure that, you know, all those things are checked, but they also know what's expected of them. Now don't make them write an email that's 20 pages long every single day. That's ridiculous. You know, 3 or 4 questions on there and a little blurb about what they got done. That's it. Just kind of checking in with you, unless you plan on talking to them every single day. And I don't talk to my employees in the Philippines every single day, because I don't need to. I don't need to get them on, you know, a call and do all this stuff and waste time and have meetings. I'm not a big meeting person. I just want to know that stuff's getting done and that they're aware of what needs to get done, and that they check in with you. That's it. Number 6, make progress. Now what do I mean by that? Well, in the first few weeks you want to make sure you're making progress, you're getting things done. So don't give a task that's going to take 3 months to complete before you can see if it's actually done. Do some simple things, like, you know, maybe you need some posts done, maybe you need some data entered, that type of thing, but make sure that they can have some early wins. In other words, you can look at what they did at the beginning and you can say, hey, good job, I really appreciate you doing a great job. Don't wait and, you know, tell them they did a good job after 3 or 4 months, because they're they're not going to know. They're going to feel insecure, and you don't want to do that to people. You want to reassure people, and you're going to do a whole lot better with this positive reinforcement. The way we manage people in the United States is not always positive. It's, you know, we're going to punish you if you don't do something well, and that doesn't make anybody want to work hard for you. And next thing I'll tell you underneath that is keep them busy. I mean, make sure there's stuff for them to do. You shouldn't have to, you know, communicate with them every single day about what you want done. You know, I make sure I have a list of things that, you know, they literally cannot complete in a day, because, you know, I have stuff scheduled out for weeks. So make sure you have enough work for them to do, because they don't want to feel like they keep running out of work, because they're going to feel like, well, maybe this job isn't going to be around next week because this person never gives me enough work, you know, to where I can even fill my day. So I feel really guilty because they're giving me 2 hours worth of work and I'm supposed to work 8 hours, but there's not enough work to do. So don't get in that situation. If you don't need somebody full-time, don't hire somebody full-time. I like to make sure that every day is planned out, and what I mean by that is I will give enough work to where I know that, you know, today they need to do this, but tomorrow there's this to do, and tomorrow there's this to do. And a lot of our work is dynamic work, so it's like people want to join our group and they have to approve them and put them in our email system, and they have to edit, you know, videos, and they have to get certain graphics done. Now every now and then I'm going to have a project that I'm going to have to throw in, but if you do that, understand that that's going to take away from their other work. So if you have somebody editing videos and you ask them to do a whole bunch of graphics, it's going to take them a day and a half. They can't do your videos too. I mean, they just can't do it. So make sure that, you know, you don't just pile that on top of what they have to do, because that's unfair to them. Contrary to common belief, it doesn't hurt to compliment people. Okay, compliments cost you nothing. Okay, and if somebody's doing a good job, the old thinking in the USA is that I never want to tell them you know, they're doing a good job, because they're going to want to raise, and I don't want them to think that. Well, that's craziness. Okay, if somebody's doing a good job, sometimes if you just thank them, you don't have to give them a raise every single day. You should give them raises on down the road, and you should pay them more so that they want to work for you. And you should actually pay on the higher end of the scale, because if you're paying on the higher end of the scale and you're treating people right, guess what? You're going to attract really good people, and the people that do come to work for you are going to want to work for you, and they're going to do a better job, and you're really going to benefit. Number 7 is talk about pay. Everybody doesn't want to talk about pay. They're so worried about, oh my gosh, I want to bring up money. Money's important. You know, they know what they need to make, and you know what you can afford to pay. And if those two don't match up in the beginning, get it out in the beginning. Don't say, well, why don't you come to work for this, and then we'll see how you're doing, and then maybe I can pay you more. Don't do that to anybody. Okay, make sure that whatever you're paying them is going to meet with what they want to make right now. Don't make them, you know, wait 2 months to see if they can make the money they need. As a matter of fact, in 2 months, if they're doing a good job, give them a raise. Do a little bit more for them, but do talk about pay. You have to do this. Number 8, expect turnover. Okay, I was in another industry for many years, and we had a lot of turnover. Okay, and it's expected, and things happen. Nothing is 100% permanent. It's just not. So if an employee leaves you, or, you know, quits, or you have to fire somebody, these things happen. You got to understand, running a business, that's how it goes. Some people stay, some people go, and that's okay. Don't get mad at somebody because they quit. Don't get mad at somebody because, you know, they want to go in another direction. They have a right to do that. You did that, right? Because you started your online business, and you obviously had to quit a job to do that, or plan on quitting a job to do that. So expect turnover. It's going to happen. The next thing I'll tell you is enjoy the ride. And what I mean by that is Filipinos are great people. They're really awesome people. I happen to love Filipino food. I had Filipino food for lunch today, so I really love that, and I plan on going there one day and visiting the country. But understand, they're really great people. So instead of thinking about, you know, all these people are going to work for me and they're going to do what I tell them to do, why don't you think about kind of building a family of people that want to work with you to help you build your business? It's a whole lot better relationship to do that than to have this boss employee type attitude. You want people who want to work with you, who want to build up your business, who want to help you, who know that you care about them. So it doesn't hurt to ask about their, you know, wife or husband and kids and what they like to do for enjoyment. You know, it's okay to treat them as a person too. And I'm not saying hang out with them and, you know, go to games with them and do all that type of thing, but what I'm saying is treat them as individual people, not just employees. Okay, so that's how you hire, train, and manage people on Onlinejobs.ph. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, do me a favor, comment below. Now, have you tried to hire people? Question of the day. Have you tried to hire people, and what has your experiences been? Put those comments below. Give me a thumbs up on this video. I would really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. I would really appreciate a subscribe to the channel, and the important thing after you do that, notifications. There's a bell next to that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that bell and you turn on all notifications. Now, as promised, I have a $97 e-commerce course that you can have absolutely free. Free's good, right? Go down in the description, click the link, no credit card, none of that. Just click the link and click and learn. I really appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that little bell right there so you can be notified every time I do a new video. Also, click on one of those videos there. Keep watching on my channel.